Believe it or not, iPhone 18 rumors have already begun because you knew it was coming. Meta just took a lot of the spotlight with all its new pairs of smart glasses. MediaTek just made their 2nm chip official, though timing isn't necessarily as close. Samsung is reportedly considering an aggressive push for the TriFold even beyond Korea. And yes, it seems Qualcomm already has a name for its next 8 Elite, and it's not what you think. I'm Jaime Rivera, and it's time for these 5 interesting topics. This is Tech Briefing. Yes, there are a ton of official news today and even rumors because, of course, it's iPhone day, and I'm already working hard on these videos. Regardless, MediaTek just took the spotlight for a pretty interesting teaser. The company just announced that it has partnered with TSMC to successfully develop a 2nm flagship SoC, and while this is slated until 2026, the early announcement is everything about why this new architecture will matter. See, 2nm isn't new. TSMC actually developed their initial N2 architecture last year, with mass production slated for this year, but the N2P technology that MediaTek is using is a more mature evolution. It's the first to adopt nanosheet transistors, and if you were to compare performance with the current N3E 3nm node, this N2P processor is 18% more powerful, but listen to this one. It consumes around 36% less power, and all at the same speeds at 1.2 times the logic density. That power efficiency alone is a big deal, as MediaTek chips have been known to beat others at performance per watt. Since we still don't have information on the company's Dimensity 9500, which I assume is the name for their next chip, paving the road for the Dimensity, I would say 9600, to go 2nm, though this is just my speculation. Whatever the case may be, it does sound like if chips for this year and the next will be pretty insane. I'm curious to know how important this is to you in the comments. Now let's switch to Samsung, as we might actually have some good news about the company's TriFold. If you remember, the original batch of rumors were that the company was producing a very small amount of devices in order to test the waters in select markets, and by that I assume that means Korea, just like the company did with the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition. Well, set your calendars for October, as we're hearing that there will be a possible event for the company's Muhan headset, which makes sense given all the Meta announcements, but we're also hearing about that TriFold. According to CNN, citing a source familiar to Samsung's plan, the company is considering selling the Galaxy TriFold in the United States and other regions, though nothing was finalized just yet. It's hard to predict if this will mean the global rollout at the same time as it launches in Korea, but even if it were staggered, it means we might actually get select devices in more regions. Now, whether this has to do with how well the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is selling is hard to predict, but the company is still struggling to meet demand on that one. If the company does pull it off, it would be the first TriFold in global markets, as yeah, that Huawei Mate X-T Ultimate is pretty much China only. I'm curious to know what you think about this possible launch in the comments, and how much would you be willing to pay for that TriFold in the United States? Alright, let's keep talking chips though now with Qualcomm, as clearly the topic is getting interesting with fall launches. The company has pretty much confirmed that its next flagship mobile chipset will be called the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and yeah, you bet I was also scratching my head on that one, as this is pretty much a direct successor to last year's Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is pretty much a Gen 1. The company will unveil the chip at its Snapdragon Summit from September 23rd to the 25th, though I was the first to wonder why such a gigantic leap in numbers, though it seems this is really not a 5-generation leap in performance, which oh well. In the blog post, Qualcomm explained that the Gen 5 name reflects the 5th generation of its 8 series platform since the switch to single-digit naming systems. After the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 8 Gen 2, 8 Gen 3, the Elite branding introduced last year technically represented the 4th generation, so the new name brings the lineup back into clear generational order. Though yeah, I'm already questioning the move, as the whole switch to Elite was to signify that this was the first custom Orion core chip on the Snapdragon 8 series, which is why they switched names last year in the first place. You do have to admit that it's a neat move in sidestepping the use of the number 4, which is considered unlucky in Chinese culture. At this point, it's safe to assume that the first phones powered by the new chip will be the Xiaomi 17, 17 Pro, and 17 either Ultra or Pro Max later this month. I never know that name, which is slated to be announced in China and Europe. OnePlus and Oppo, along with Samsung, will most likely follow. I'm curious to know what you think about this naming scheme in the comments, because yeah, oh well. Now let's switch to Meta, as yes, I was impressed by all the products the company just announced. At Meta Connect 2025, Mark Zuckerberg kicked things off with 3 new pairs of smart glasses. First, we got to see the Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2, finally, which comes with an upgraded 12-megapixel camera and can shoot 3K Ultra HD video at 60 frames per second with HDR, plus 32 gigs of storage, pretty much putting them on par with the Oakley Houston. Battery life has been boosted to 8 hours on a single charge, with the case now providing 48 hours instead of 32. Meta also confirmed the hyperlapse and slow motion recording features are on their way in a future update. The Gen 2 glasses keep the same Wayfarer, Skylar, and Headliner frames starting at $379. Now, speaking of Oakley, remember the rumors we covered months ago that didn't happen? Well, they turned out to be true, as we finally got to see the Meta Vanguard, a $499 model with Oakley's wraparound frames, a central 12-megapixel camera with a wide 122-degree field of view, improved stabilization, better temperature endurance, and louder speakers. They'll also integrate with Strava and Garmin in a pretty neat way to help you document activities, and are set to launch on October 21st. The thing is, the biggest announcement was the Meta Ray-Ban display, Meta's first AR glasses. And listen, they almost sound too good to be true for $799, but they include translucent heads-up display lenses to show text navigation, AI prompts, and even video calls, all controlled by an EMG wristband that lets you type or interact with gestures. Now, the onstage demo wasn't perfect, but a lot of my friends tested it out and loved it. Zuckerberg showed off real-time subtitles and music playback through Spotify. Availability will be limited to select retailers like Best Buy, LensCrafters, Ray-Ban, and Verizon, but I'm shocked that the launch is starting on September 30th. I'm curious to know what you think about these in the comments, because I am excited for them. And finally, for the hottest news today, let's talk iPhone 18, because you knew these rumors were going to begin right on iPhone Day. We've been covering rumors on this device for weeks already, as we hear about Apple's plans to make a major revamp for the 20-year iPhone, which is slated for 2027. Thing is, for those of you debating grabbing the current iPhones because the next ones might be better, it doesn't seem that the next devices will be that much different, which is usually the Apple way of doing things. According to leaker Digital Chat Station, the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max will largely stick to the design introduced with the iPhone 17 Pro models, including the rear plateau camera housing with 3 lenses arranged in a triangular layout. Display sizes are also expected to remain unchanged at 6.3 inches for the Pro and 6.9 inches for the Pro Max. The leak adds that the rear ceramic shield area will adopt a slightly transparent design, though no details were given about how that's going to look or how that's going to be in practice. Obviously, the question is if those displays will evolve to the smaller Face ID, as Apple pushes to remove the module altogether for 2027, and there are so many rumors about that. And listen, we were expecting some sort of reduction for the 17 Pro series, but that didn't happen. Other reports suggest that the iPhone 18 Pro models will ship with a stainless steel vapor chamber cooling system, alongside Apple's next generation A20 Pro chip built on TSMC's 2nm process that we discussed recently for MediaTek. The devices are also expected to integrate Apple's in-house C2 modem, dropping Qualcomm solution entirely. So yeah, same design, hopefully in new colors, new architecture in the chip, better vapor chamber, more efficient modem, and hopefully better displays. In today's question, let me know, what do you think about the possible changes Apple could bring or is planning? Because in my case, as I hold the iPhone 17 Pro Max for the last 18 hours, I can tell you I like where this is going a lot, but expect more on that tomorrow with my first impressions video. I'm curious to know what you think about this in the comments. Friends, thank you so much for joining on another episode of Tech Briefing. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, as you've seen me try to respond to as many as I can. Guys, I try. Also follow me on social media, as more behind-the-scenes work happens there. By the way, our first podcast episode with Josh is going live soon. We actually have multiple episodes ready, so stay tuned, as they're going to be going live in batches. And this first one is with Samsung. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.